Boho Bride today, and Lynette has kindly agreed to answer some of our brides' most frequently asked questions. So, Lynette, how does a bride choose between a long and a short veil?
Oh, it's a difficult one really. Some brides actually don't want a veil, or that say they don't want a veil. I usually say, well, have you actually tried a veil on yet? And they go, quite often they say no, and I said, well, why don't you just try one on to rule it out? And depending on the style of the dress, sometimes a short veil or a long veil suits the look better, but that's entirely up to brides. This is one of our best selling veils, and it's got little tiny pearls all over it, or you can have it in a plain version as well. It really does change the whole look. Now this is Italian tulle. It's the best quality tulle you can get. As you can see, it's really floaty, but it's very fine, so you can still see the detail of the back of the dress.
Yes,
even though it's a long veil. But you can see if I do that how floaty that is. So
yeah,
you
really
can imagine
delicate.
that in a photograph, a little bit of wind takes it. And then for a short one, this is a Chantilly eyelash lace. So again, if your dress had some eyelash lace on it or some lace detail, it's quite nice to have a veil with a bit of edging. But if you had a dress that had, let's say, lots of detail here, you might not want to cover it all up. And then, of course, after the photos, you can take it off and rock till you drop without having to worry about somebody standing on your veil.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's entirely up to a bride, and we always make suggestions when they come in. We do accessory appointments. We can actually start putting all the different accessories together, you know, shoes, headpieces, veils, whatever. So it's a good way of sort of seeing how it all comes together. So yeah, we're very happy to do accessory appointments even if you haven't bought your gown from us.
And how would a bride book an accessory appointment through
Just
you?
give us a call,
Okay.
yes, yeah, and let us know. And you get an hour, so you know it gives you enough time to put your dress on and then see what bits and pieces work best with your gown.
And another question that brides seem to ask a lot is how do they avoid tripping over their dresses?
Well, it's all about the fit. We need to get your bodice fitting absolutely perfectly. So let's say your dress was a little bit baggy like that. What we'd need to do is actually bring the whole thing up and actually take that in at the side there. Once we've done that, we can then look at the hem, because this will actually heighten the length of the dress. And I'm very particular about hems, and I like the hems to be to the top of the toe. It stops you from having that urge to pick your dress up. We don't want you walking down the aisle holding your dress up in one hand and holding your bouquet in the other. We want you to glide down the aisle, and the way to do that is to have just the top of your toes showing like that. We only do the front, so if you've got a long train, it's only the front of the hem that's altered, the back stays the same. But sometimes we can take a little bit of bulk out the side as well, especially if you're a bride that's more prone to tripping. When you turn round a corner, you might stand on your dress if there's a lot of dress on the side as well, so sometimes we can trim that off as well. And luckily you've got fantastic Laura who will look after you and make sure your dress fits you perfectly.
Amazing. While we're talking about not tripping up, how about those brides who want to party the night away on the dance floor? How do they pin up their dresses?
Very good question. We call it bustling. So let's say that's your dress. So obviously beautiful train, looks absolutely stunning, but when you want to come to the evening you won't want to be tripping over your dress. So what we suggest is bustling it up like that. There's two things that we can do. We can use a bustle pin, which is basically a safety pin. This one's got pretty pearls on, some of them have got diamante on. If you take the seam there, put that through the seam, put that through there, and that will keep your dress up. And it, depending on how high you want it, is depending on where you grasp it from there. So if you wanted it even higher, you'd grasp it further down. If you've got lots of layers, you need to be grasping the layers as well, which is why these pins are quite useful, because they're actually quite sturdy pins. The other way is these fantastic train loops, which I love. One bit there, so it's got a little clasp that goes in there.
A bit like an earring?
It is a bit like an earring, yes. Yeah, so if we undo that button there, it just pops in. Pop that in there. And that hooks on there.
Ah, I see.
So if you've got a finer fabric, that will work. It looks a little bit like your buttons, and they come in two versions with pearls and diamante.
Yeah.
So that's really quite useful. You can use it for other things as well, little scarves or things. So if you've got a jacket that's, you know, you wear that, or a cardigan that comes undone, you can just use it across the middle there. So that's quite useful as well. So that's how we bustle up wedding gowns.
And so something that a lot of brides seem to think is that they need a hoop. What's your opinion on this?
I'm not a fan of hoops, I have to say. I think you get the tendency, especially if it's on a dress that's quite fine material, where the plastic hoops are, you get these dentations.
Okay.
So if you were going for a dress that you felt wasn't, technical term, poofy enough, we would recommend a stiff tulle petticoat like that. Now some brides think that they need a hoop to shorten their dress. That is absolutely not true. The hoop is there to add volume, not to heighten the dress, so you don't need it altering, because it will still curl under if it's still too long. If you're walking along a carpet and it's still too long, it will curl under and you're more likely to trip. Some girls don't like the idea of having too much layers actually touching their legs, so you know, a petticoat or a hoop is probably the only reason you would want to do that, but I'm not a fan of them, and certainly they're not a substitute to having your dress altered perfectly,
Okay.
especially the hem.
Yeah, that's definitely worth knowing. And finally, a big question that we're hearing a lot is, how do brides cover up their arms?
Yes, we get a lot of brides that don't like to show their arms, you know, for one reason or another. Quite often they say, I want to cover my arms, but by the end of the appointment they've gone out with a strappy dress that doesn't have any arms. So it's just a case of overcoming that initial fear. But if you really do have an issue, or you want two different looks, we do recommend the little boleros or jackets. So
Oh yeah, I love these.
so this is an idea, especially if it was a cooler evening or cooler time of the year, so you could have your,
Oh, that looks great.
and that's quite a cool bride look, quite boho as well. And of course you can wear that again, you can wear it with a little camisole underneath, a pair of jeans, it's going to look gorgeous, so you get double the wear out.
And is this the Freedom collection?
This is from our Freedom collection, yes. Or you could go for a jacket. Now there's a difference between a jacket and a bolero. A jacket does up at the front, a bolero does up at the back. So this is a jacket. So again, that's quite a nice little boho
That
look
looks
as
really
well.
nice.
And again, you know, it's a classic. That's quite a nice way of covering up, but also because it's quite open, it doesn't look too dense. So depending on the fabric, or a very fine lace, you could still do it in a very fine lace and it will still show the detail of the dress underneath, but it will cover up your arms.
Perfect for maybe spring or autumn.
Yeah, definitely. Or sometimes older brides, you know, they just don't want to bear all.
Yeah, no, of course.
This is another type of bolero. This has got slightly longer sleeves. So again, you could wear the bolero for the ceremony and then in the evening take it off. So it almost looks like you've got two different dresses. So
Yeah.
you take the bolero off, or the biker jacket, and then you've got another look again.
Yeah.
So this is a nice one with a slightly longer sleeve. This is a 3/4 length sleeve, which is a bit more flattering than a really long sleeve, I always think, because it's nice to show your wrists.
Yeah.
But that's, and then it's got a low back as well. It still shows off the back of the dress.
Yeah, that's lovely.
It looks really pretty. So again, different look again.
Yeah.
Slightly longer sleeves, slightly fuller sleeves as well. But you've still got that cover up. But you can still see the detail. So
Yes.
that's the best way to cover up if you want to cover up your arms or cover up your chest a little bit. You don't want to be too booby.
Yeah. No, that's great. Thank you so much for that,
You're
Lynette.
welcome.